Hey everybody, Z Garcia here, and today we're going to be traveling to Barcelona and capturing the beauty of the city in Zoom In Barcelona. In this game, you are going to be moving around a map of the city, either on foot or with local transportation, and you are going to be attempting to take photographs of the skyline of various local attractions in order to win a photograph contest. That's the theme of the game. You are going to go to a few different kinds of spots, trying to stay out of the way of other players, or really more specifically, keep them out of your way so that you can score the most points and win the whole thing. Let's go ahead and take a look at how the game works on the table, and I'll see you back up here in just a little bit. So here we're taking a look at the game setup for 3 players. The players are going to be moving their pawns around the board, taking pictures of different monuments, different locations, as well as these over here at the numbered locations on the board, trying to get the most victory points. When someone takes 8 of these, the game will be over, and then we're going to score up a couple of different things in game. Namely, the landmarks, which is what these cards are called, this deck right here, are going to be worth 3 points apiece, plus 1 for each of the symbols on it that match these 2 that were randomly selected at the beginning of the game. They could have been, they could have ended up being different things, but this is what we got. And so this card here, for example, all the cards are worth a base of 3, and this one will be worth another 3 for sharing that symbol with this one right here. And then also the players are going to score the skyline, which are these symbols here, these tokens. You have one of these given to you at the beginning of the game, and on the back is a random lineup of all these skyline symbols. So you're going to be scoring these based on your chart right here, also on the back of this. And you want groups that are adjacent. So if I'm able to have 4 of these adjacent to each other, that'll be worth 11. And then I have 2 more over here that are adjacent to each other. That's another 4. But if I can group those together, then I can get a longer set. So you'll score that as well, and you want to keep that hidden from the other players. Now, one final thing I want to talk about before we start playing. I did throw in here a couple of sort of advanced rules that they talk about. And this is one of them. The lineup here is one of them. Normally you can just, with the simpler mode, you can just score them if you get them. And then also this, which is this sort of sunlight tracker during the game. You want to go to these specific locations and take a photograph there, and then you'll move your token onto that card. Once I take this photograph, then I'll move on to that one, and so on. And what it does is it limits how many of these cards you can score. So if I get it all the way up to here, I can score all 8 that I could normally get. But if I went to there and I was able to take 5 of these photographs, I can only score 4 of them. So this is another thing to be mindful of, okay? So there you go. That's the scoring out of the way. Everybody has their camera. You have your secret token. You have here the zoom that begins on 3. And you have 3 of these movement cards. Now, I began at the airport as shown here on my camera. Everybody gets one of these. So I'm right here. So on my turn, I'm going to move, and then I'm going to activate one of the locations, the location I ended up in. So you can just move by walking there, and you can move up to 2 spaces. So I could go 1 to there and go 2 to that one, okay? Or you can play a card for movement, and they would let you go that far. You cannot end up where someone else is, and when you do end up somewhere, then you'll take the action there. So let's talk about those. If you end up in one of these locations, so the star district is up here. If I end up on the 4, right there, I could take this photograph. If I remove it, we draw a new one. So all of these are the same thing. If you end up on one of these, the very next one, you have to do these in order. Then you can take that photograph. So this one, for example, would be right there. Green, 3 in the square, right? You can end up at one of the skyline locations. That's these right here. If you end up there, you can take one of these. There are fewer of these than there are players. You have to be careful that they don't run out. If you end up at one of the metros, you can immediately jump to another metro, and your turn then is over. But you'll start from there next round. If you end up in one of the information locations, that's when you get to replenish this hand of movement cards. You can discard any you have left, and then draw back up to 3. And then lastly, there is the green dragon locations. This little fella right here is the green dragon. He begins at one of the random green dragon locations. So he began at this one here. If somebody goes there and takes a photograph there, meaning you end your turn there, then you will be able to do one of several different things. He's kind of wild. So you can take a landmark photo from over here, no matter, which one or where it is. You can take a skyline photo. You can move up on this one to the very next one. Or you could refresh all of these and draw new ones. Once you've done that, then we're going to reveal a new one from here, and the dragon's going to move to that district. So after anybody went and visited the dragon, he would then bounce to this district, which is this one here, and he would go to that green dragon location right there. Okay? So that's how that works. If you make it to where he is, he gives you something very powerful, one of those things I mentioned, but it's a nice variety. So that's the way the game works. You continue moving on your turn, move, replenish your hand, or take a photograph of something, try to acquire these, try to match these symbols for the symbols here for bonus points, and ultimately, moving up on here, ultimately trying to have the most victory points. One final thing I want to talk about is the zoom. And again, this is in the advanced mode, which I recommend, but you don't always use it. So the idea being, if I want to take that photograph there, but I can't quite make it to it, or someone else is on it, then I could, on my turn, let's say I'm right here, I could play this card, a 4, and I could go 1, 2, 3, 4. I made it to there. Or I could even, let's say I even played the 5. Why not? Played a 5. I made it to there. And I'm not quite at that 9. So I can use the zoom, one click on the zoom, to take a photograph of something one space away. And I would acquire this card, keep it in front of me, and then we replenish it. If you are 2 away, you could use 2 zoom clicks. But these are finite. You have 3 for the entire game. All right? And that's all there is to it. Hopefully that is a quick and dirty sort of explanation of what's going on. I hope it makes sense. Let's go ahead and go back up top. Let me tell you what I think of it. So that is Zoom in Barcelona, a lovely game that is a very welcoming, straightforward package, lovely, lighthearted, but perhaps a little too simple for folks that have been into gaming for a long time, have enjoyed perhaps more complex games, or games that just offer more replayability ultimately, sort of discoverability. Things to discover on, say, your 4th play of the game. You're not really going to get that here. But if you enjoy the city and you like this kind of light-hearted travel game, then this is a very good one. Also very good, again, introductory game just to the modern world of board gaming. So let's go ahead and talk about it, shall we? Starting at the top with the theme and the setting. Like I said, it is lovely. I could see a lot of cities being featured and then them making a series out of this, the core rules here. And I believe there already is another game announced in the line, in fact. So that works well. Obviously, it being a city that you are familiar with and already enjoy could enhance this thematic trapping for you, right? If it's a place you visited and playing the game reminds you of that place, then that's wonderful, and that's something to think about. The aesthetics, very good. Clean graphic design, very vibrant game, good quality components. I do wish the little dragon token was a wooden piece instead of a cardboard standee. It's the only cardboard standee in the game where they give the players wooden pawns. So that would have been nice. That would have been a nice little touch, just to make it stand out on the board a little bit more. It's so important and such a flexible location you can go to that it would have been nice to see that. But that's a minor nitpick, really. Everything, I think, is well illustrated, like I said, and looks good on the table. So well constructed as well. So no problems there. And the rulebook is nicely laid out. Makes a lot of sense. The replay value here, I think, is okay. the game, like I said, there's not a lot of discoverability. Now, there are two ways you can play. Like I said, you can ignore some things on your first few plays. You can get rid of the skyline having to be in a specific order for you to score them. You just get points for having them. And then also the sunrise, sunset track at the bottom of the board. That's also not something you have to play with. I would recommend it. I don't think they add that much complexity to the game, and I think it makes the gameplay a little more robust. It enhances the tactics and strategy that I'm going to be talking about in a little bit. So you can simplify it even more than what I showed you. I find that perhaps a little too simple, though. So I'd recommend stepping it up to the advanced mode basically immediately, okay? Unless you're playing with children, perhaps, or, someone finds that a little too much, finds it intimidating. But the replay value as it is, taking that out of the equation, because it's not really a big deal, you're doing the same things each game. So while the game is pleasant and very welcoming, if you are coming back to the well, so to speak, because you want to see what's different this time, well, likely not too much, okay? It'll be sort of the same. The game arc. The game is very fast playing, and I think that's one of its strengths. It'll be a 30-minute game, maybe a 40-minute game. So you can get it set up, play, enjoy that sort of little burst of traveling, nostalgic fun, and then you're done and the game wraps up. Having the advanced rules in there means you can't quite do everything in those 30 minutes, and I like that feeling. You cannot ignore, or you have to rather, ignore something. I can't hit all the skylines I want to because I need to move up on the sun track so I can score these pictures I've taken. And I like those decisions. They are few, but they're interesting. The ease of play, wonderful. Wonderful ease of play. Like I said, very good rule book. I like the zoom feature. It's a neat idea, very thematic, works really well. And the whole thing is just designed clearly as one of the core values here is simplicity. And it achieves that very well. And then lastly, tactics, luck, strategy. Not a ton of that, to be fair. Especially if you remove some of those things I said you can remove. But there's a few things to consider, certainly. You don't want to follow somebody else's footsteps as they continue taking the thing in front of you. You have to be mindful of the skyline tokens. There are fewer than the number of players. So if you're going for that, you want to try to get to those places quickly. Certainly not ignoring the metro that gets you all the way across the board is a good thing to, not forget about that. You can get around that way. You don't have time to do everything, like I said, if you're playing with the extra stuff. So, are you willing to have taken 7 photographs of locations, but only score 6 because you only went up 3 steps on the sunrise track? Are you okay with that, because you were doing something else? That's neat. But it's not a lot, really. And like I said, I think, ultimately, for me, this game is a little too light, a little too slight is also, a word I could use to describe it. Though certainly charming and attractive, kind of a, welcoming game. But I've played a lot of games, and so I've sort of developed a lot of tastes already. This is a little light, though I certainly find no fault in the gameplay itself. For someone who is getting into games, or particularly likes Barcelona, or just travel and photography in general, this is a lovely package, and I would certainly recommend it as a gift to someone like that, or just for yourself or your friends if you want something that is quick, that is not heavy in theme or strategy or mechanisms, but that's going to, you're going to find it fulfilling and engaging. So there you go. That is Zoom In Barcelona, folks. This is going to get a 7 out of 10 from me. That is a seal of approval. I'm looking forward to seeing what else they do with this system. Where they're going to go, what new cities they'll go to. Perhaps they'll eventually put one out that I just cannot resist and have to get for my own collection. And then if they, what they change, if anything, sort of the little places where they'll innovate on this robust foundation that they've built in this game. So there you go. Zoom in Barcelona, 7 out of 10. Thanks everybody for tuning in and checking this out. My name is Z Garcia. I'll see you on the next one.